The recording is also.
We can't screen.
Sorry.
I'm not able to see your screen.
Okay. Right. So.
Yes, it came now. It went off again.
Are you able to see it now?
No, not yet.
What about others? No one is able to see me.
I am able to see. I am able to see.
Okay, then it's probably clear.
Great. I'm not able to buy.
I also can't see. Now I can.
Yeah, I can see now.
Okay. So first of all, let's look at what are the plugins that are needed. So we need Maven, Java, and all this stuff, and that we also know how to configure Maven and how to configure Java. Let's quickly jump on into configuring the Cucumber into the Eclipse. So first of all, we need to launch our Eclipse. Are you not audible?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
So I see a message from Monica saying I'm not audible.
Yes, sir, now I can hear you.
Okay. So the first of all, the important thing is like you so Vishal, what is the problem? Are you not able to see screen or something else? Hello. Vishal.
Sir, she is not in the class. She is the from Apex.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
she
not
sent the link.
yeah.
Today's
Okay.
link she sent. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Then it should. So the first important thing is so yeah, you can drop off. Everything is good from my side. So you can take care of it. So now you just need to go to Windows and we need to install few softwares from Cucumber plugin. So for that, you just need to go for Eclipse Marketplace, and in the Eclipse Marketplace, I just need to type Cucumber. So once you type Cucumber and click on Go, you'll see few plugins which needs to be installed. So the first plugin is Cucumber Eclipse plugin. So by Cucumber, and you just need to install this. And also there is another plugin called as Natural, and it is better to install this as well. So these are the two plugins that you have to install. So let me also put them in the. So the first one is Cucumber Eclipse plugin you have to install. Cucumber Eclipse plugin is one, and the other one is Natural 0.9. These are the two plugins that you have to install into your Eclipse. Once you install both of them, it will ask you for a restart. Once you restart that, you will be available with a Cucumber plugin in your Eclipse. Okay, so these are the plugins needed. So once this is done, so you need to install both of them and just close this. So meanwhile, you just need to create a normal project called as, so click a normal Maven project. So go for Maven project and click on next. So by default, you will go with quick start project. So quick start is the default project that you have to select. So let me give this as Cucumber automation. Okay. Once you give this, just click on finish so that a project will be created. A Maven project will be created for you. So let this get built. So once it is done, we need to add our jar files which are related to the Cucumber, right? So once this is ready, we just need to go to your pom.xml, and the jar files that are needed for your project are, let's look at the jar files that you need to add for this Cucumber project. So jar files that you need are Cucumber JUnit and Cucumber Java. So these are the two jar files that you need from io.cucumber. So get both these jar files from Maven repository and add them in your pom.xml. So just go to Maven repository, click on enter, and open this Maven repository and search for Cucumber Java. Once you search for this Cucumber Java, you'll get this. So this is Cucumber Java info clicks and io.cucumber. Go for io.cucumber. So get the latest. Copy this and paste it in your dependencies. Control V. So I paste it outside dependencies. So this is one dependency that we need to add. Let me save this. The other dependency that we need is Cucumber JUnit. Cucumber JUnit, and click on search. So even if you go to this info cubes, it is saying it is outdated and you just need to move to io.cucumber. So go for Cucumber JV and JUnit io.cucumber and get the latest. Copy this, paste it in your Eclipse. So let me just paste it in my Eclipse here. Control S, save this so that all the relevant jars will be downloaded to your project. So you see some sources, all the source files are getting downloaded. Once it is done, so Control A, indentation, Control S. Now all the jar files or all the dependencies that are required for the Cucumber are being added here. Okay. So the next step is you need to write the future files. Once the future file is ready, then you can go ahead and provide the implementations or provide the step definitions for the future files. So basically in Cucumber, this is the flow. So the first thing that you will do is like you will add the plugins to your Eclipse. Once the plugins are added, so the plugins that are needed is Cucumber Eclipse plugin from Cucumber MIT and the natural plugin. Once you type Cucumber in the Eclipse market space, you will see these two options. You can install both of them. Once this is done, your Eclipse will be ready with all the add-ins that are needed or with all the plugins that are needed. Once everything is added, you need to create a Maven project is the second step. So creating Maven project is the first step. Creating Maven project is the first step. So once Maven project is created, creating Maven project is the first step. Once Maven project is created, the dependencies that we need to add is Cucumber JUnit and Cucumber Java from io.cucumber. Okay, so this will be the second step. And the third step is, what is the third step? We need to create a future file. We all know what is a future file is, which will have set of scenarios, right? So which covers or which tests a particular feature of the application. So we need to create a future file. Inside this future file, we need to develop the scenarios. This will be our next step. So let's see how to create a future file in this particular Maven project. So for that, what I have to do is I just need to go to my Eclipse, go to src test Java. This is my package, and this we don't want this, so I'm just deleting this app-test.java. Let's click on OK. And now inside this particular src test.java, let me create a package called as future files. And in this, I'm creating a package called as future files. It's a bad practice to take capitals, but still I do. Future files. I'm creating a package called as future files. And inside this future files, we need to create the future file. Future file is a file which will have an extension of .future. So once I say future file is a file with an extension of .future. File with .future extension. So I just need to create a file inside this, and it should have an extension called as .future. So that is what we are going to do next. Okay. Now let me go back to my Eclipse. In this future files package, new and file. So I just need to rename this as let's say login functionality dot feature, some dummy name I'm just giving. So I'm just clicking on finish. Once you click on finish, look at this icon. You are seeing this icon just because you added those plugins into your Eclipse. So that's the only reason. Here in this future file, you need to write all your scenarios and all the things. Okay. So before that, let's also put the folder structure of this. So this future file has to be created in src test Java. Inside this, we created a package called as feature files is the package. Inside this feature files, we created a login functionality dot feature file. So this is how our project structure looks for the future files, right? Perfect. Now, so this is our project structure. Inside src test Java, we are creating a feature file. We created a feature file, and inside this feature file package, we created a file with a name as login functionality dot feature. So this is our project structure. Now go back here. In this, let's just look at the keywords of the Zirkin, and let's just write a scenario. So the first keyword in this feature file is feature. So once you say feature is a keyword which explains us what is the feature that you want to validate. It's like a feature. Let's say we have the login functionality is the feature, validating login functionality is the feature, and it can have many scenarios, like a positive scenario with right username and right password, and negative scenario with right username and wrong password, wrong username and the right password, and we will have many combinations. So all those combinations are called as test cases. Okay, so we will test all the positive cases and negative cases for the login functionality, and those are all called as scenarios. But the feature that we are testing is login functionality. So the feature is validating login functionality. Okay, that is the feature, and this is how we will give the feature name, Control S. So let's just look at the review. Right. Under the feature, we will say scenario. Scenario is something which says what is the scenario that we want to validate here. So validate login with, I'm saying validate login with right username and the password. So we just need to give a space here. Validate login functionality with valid credentials is my scenario. Okay. Okay. In this scenario, this is the positive case, or this is the test case that we want to validate. In this scenario, what are the steps that we have to validate is we will have other keywords. So we will have few keywords. Let me tell you each one of them. Maybe we haven't discussed in the last session as well. So in the future file, the keywords are, the important keywords are future. Future is the keyword which explains, which tells what feature needs to be tested. What feature needs to be tested. Okay. So that is what basically a future keyword means in Cucumber. And the second keyword is scenario. Scenario is like a test case. It is like a test case. It's like a test case for testing feature functionality. After scenario, we will have another keyword called as given. Given is like, this keyword is like prerequisite for testing the scenario. Okay. And there is another keyword called as when. When is like what action to be performed. What action to be performed. All the actions that we want to do will be given with the when keyword. And there is another keyword called as then. This keyword is used to validate the action performed using when keyword. And there are other two keywords called as, hope you are understanding. Future is something which tells which gives a brief description of the future that we want to test. Scenario is a single test case. It can be a positive or a negative case, which is used to test this functionality. It can have to test this functionality. To test this feature, we may need to provide do multiple combinations to test the complete functionality of the feature. One such combination is called a scenario. So in a feature file, we can have multiple scenarios. So each scenario will cover a positive case or a negative case to test that particular feature. So that is the scenario keyword, and the scenario briefly describes what has to be, what we are gonna cover or what we are gonna achieve using this particular test case. So given is the keyword which tells what are the prerequisites to be done before testing this particular scenario. If you take the login example, so for logging into the page, scenario is, let's say now the scenario of us is to validate the login functionality. So there can be multiple scenarios here. The first scenario is login with valid credentials, and the second scenario will login with valid credentials, and with the right username and the wrong password, something like that. So that those are all negative cases. If you take this particular scenario, validating login functionality with valid credentials. So what is the given? What is the prerequisite to test this particular functionality? The prerequisite will be I have to be on the login page first. I need to redirect to the particular specific URL. That is the prerequisite. Once we reach to that specific URL, we can test the login functionality. We can enter the username and we can enter the password, and then we can check the functionality. Correct. So that is the prerequisite to test the login functionality. So the prerequisite is login functionality is so the given in the given for this example, given user is on login page. User is on application login page. You can also say this. User is on application login page is the prerequisite. Once user is on the login page, and when we enter right username and password, right username and password is the action that we need to perform on the username, password, and so there is another keyword called as end. So when we have multiple when or then statements that we have to give, then we need to use end to combine multiple when statements or then statements. There is a keyword called as end. End is used in the positive cases, and there is also another scenario called as but, which is used for the negative cases. We will also see the examples. But is used for negative cases. Okay, so let's develop the scenario for this login functionality. So given user is on the application login page, when user enters right username and password and click on login button, this is the positive case, and this is an additional statement for the when thing. When user does something on the user page, and when click, instead of writing when, we are combining both the statements using end, and click on, so this is more readable, right? And click on login page, and click on login page. So then comes and then the next one is then. So this is a validation, right? So once user gives the right username and password and click on login button, he has to redirect to the application home page. So that is the validation. So validations are covered in then using then keyword. Okay, so in the then, the statement will be validate whether user is redirected to the application home page or not. So the validation is then validate user redirected to application home page. Okay, so this is the validation, and as I told you, end is the keyword which is used to combine multiple statements and the positive cases, and but is used to validate the negative cases. Let's also talk about but later, but right now these are the important keywords that we will come across. In future we will also discuss about the other keywords in short, but right now you should be aware of these keywords. So AND is used to combine multiple statements in the positive scenarios, but is used to combine the statements in the negative scenarios. Okay. Right. So now go back to the Eclipse and write that scenario. So the scenario here is validate login functionality with valid credentials. For that, the prerequisite should be given, should be added with a keyword called as given. Sorry.
So this should launch URL, right?
Right. This
If the
statement
user
should
wants
launch
to
the
join.
URL. Correct. User is on application login page. So this is the prerequisite to test this functionality. When user is on the application login page. So right now, don't think of anything with the implementation thing. Just think in the manual perspective. So to test this functionality, what are the prerequisites? The user has to launch the application URL and he needs to redirect to the login page. So that is the prerequisite. Once this prerequisite is achieved, we need to go with when user enters username and password and click on login button, then application homepage has to be displayed. Application homepage has to be displayed. For example, let's take this example. So we will have multiple users. Let's say my application have multiple kinds of users. So one user should be, let's say, this is my application. So I have two kinds of user. One is admin user and the other one is general user. So admin user will have few options displayed for it. Let's say change security is the tab which admin user will be able to see, but general user will not be able to see. Okay, let's say general user shouldn't see change security tab. Shouldn't see change security tab. So this is the functionality. In this case, if I log in with admin user, then I say then application homepage has to be displayed and user needs to see change security tab. When I say this, when user enters admin username and password, then application homepage has to be displayed and user needs to see change security tab. So when user enters with general username and general username and password, then user shouldn't see change security tab. In that case, that is a negative case. Shouldn't see is a negative case. Then we need to go with but user should not see change security tab. So this is how we will use the negative but in the negative cases. So when you are using and, that's a positive case. When it is but, it's a negative case. Okay. So this is how we implement, a scenario. This is how we write a scenario in this Cucumber files. Now the next step is to create step definitions for all these steps in this scenario. So if you go to the
So how
next
many
step.
so how many features can we write in one page? For example, are we writing for login page like username and password? For example, for dashboard page, how many? Is there a minimum number of lines test cases we need to um, write in this particular feature file?
No, there is no such criteria. You can write as many as you want.
Okay.
So if
So for each,
So,
we need to write a scenario and then write all this given and the
yeah,
conditions
you
and
can
everything.
also have another scenario added here.
Okay, we can write multiple scenarios.
Yeah,
okay.
these are the test
And
cases.
one scenario for one
And if
test
you want to
case.
change the feature, this is only for a single feature. So for
Yeah, this is
different
for a
features,
single feature.
and
So if you have another feature, you need to again add a new feature file. So
okay.
Are we adding them on the page basis? For example, this is a login page. So for the dashboard, once we log into
Home page features
correct.
and everything.
You need to go here,
Okay.
add a new file. Let's say dashboard validations.feature, and we will write all the relative scenarios in that inside that dashboard.feature file.
So in that case, I think when we write a positive and negative scenarios, I think maintenance of the features, this test cases will be too lengthy and too. In that case, how are we maintaining?
Why it will be so lengthy? Why do you think so?
This is
Because,
easy to change.
for example, in an e-commerce application, I want to, execute the regression. I mean, for example, we have a regression suits. Otherwise, with the key value, I want to execute particular key tags. With the key tags, I wanted to execute a few of the scenarios. In that way, how the filtering the test cases would be little, tricky. In that way, how to handle those.
Basically, we will have tags here as well. The way we use tags in TestNG, similar way we will also tag the test cases. What test cases has to be tested in regression and what test cases has to be tested in smoke. We can add tags to the scenarios as well, so that the Cucumber will fix the specified tags and it will execute them. Is that what you are saying, or what you are looking for?
Yes, tags are there, but okay, some scenarios, yeah, you go ahead, sir. I'll just ask you as and when I get some doubts. Sure.
Sir, can I get to see the poem once again, please?
Yeah, sure. I'll just open that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I'm done.
Yeah. So the next step is to provide the implementations for this feature file. So now we have written our feature. We have written our scenario. Now we need to write the code, Java code, and we need to map this scenario with that Java code, correct? So when I say user is on application page, so this is the scenario line. And now for this scenario line, I need to write a Java code and I need to tag this scenario with that Java code. So that is the next step, correct? So the next step is So we have covered 3 steps. We created feature file. Now the next step is we need to create step definitions for the feature file. Okay, this is what we have to do next. So how to do this? So again, we need to create a package called as step definitions. So to just differentiate feature files, step definitions with this inside a separate folders, we're just creating separate packages for each and everything. So inside src test Java, we need to create a package called as step definitions. Inside the step definitions, you can even create a package called, you can create a class with name homepage validations or login validations .java. So this will be our project structure for the step definitions. So that is how we create the project structure. So inside src test Java, we create a package called as test definitions. Inside the test definitions, we create a class called as login validations.java. Okay. Now let me go back to Eclipse. Now let's see how to create the step definitions, how to generate step definitions for these steps. So for now, I'm just minimizing this. Right click, new, package, name this as step definitions, click on finish. Once the step definitions are created, inside this, let me create a package. Let me create a class. Let's say this is login validations. So I'm creating a class with name login validations and click on finish. So once this is done, now we need to place the relevant Java code for matching the feature files of this. So once you go to this login future functionality.future, and if you go here, right click, and if we run this as cucumber.future. So before this, let me also tell you some other tricky things. So we do have an add-on called as tidy Zirkin. We can generate step definitions using 2 ways. So we can generate step definitions for scenarios in 2 ways. We can have many ways, but let's discuss 2 ways now. One is using tidy Zirkin plugin, and other one is using Cucumber plugin in Eclipse. So whatever you feel is comfortable to you, you go with that. Let me explain you both of them. So if you go to Google Chrome and if you type tidy Zirkin plugin, you will see something like this, a plugin for the Google Chrome extension. So once you install this, you just click on launch app. So once you launch this app, this is the app that you see. Once you launch it, once you add that plugin to your Chrome, you will see this app like this here. So once you add your future file here, so this is my future, this is my scenario, right? So I'm copying this, and now let me go back to this tidy Zirkin and let me paste it here. So if I paste that here, by default, if you go to the Java steps, the implementation code for this particular scenario will be by default given over here. So what you all need to do is you just need to copy this code and go to your Eclipse, paste it over there. That's all, nothing much. So just copy this, Control C, go back to your Eclipse, login validation, and you see once you paste it here, it will ask you for some imports. So throwing an exception, I'm deleting all these things, deleting all the exceptions inside this because I don't want to throw any exception here. Okay, right, and do all the imports that are required. When from ivo.cucumber.java, then from ivo.cucumber.java, and from ivo.cucumber.java, but from ivo.cucumber.java. So now using the tidy Zirkin plugin, I got the implementations for all the future files over here, all the steps that are over here. Now, what is the next step is, if you right click on this and do run as Cucumber Future, so if you go to the console and see the output, so see for every step that is there in the scenario, a relevant relevant step definition is already mapped. So inside step definitions package in login validations use class name, there is a method called as user on application login page is something which is implementing this given user is on application login page step. In the similar manner, we have this for all the step definitions. Now we have all the step definitions. We have all the scenario steps mapping to the step definitions, right? So this is one way to get the step definitions out of this plugin called as tidy Zirkin. So if you don't want to use this particular plugin, there is another way to provide to get these implementations through the Eclipse itself. Okay, so for that, I'll just go back to the login validation page and I'll just remove all these things. Let me remove everything. Let me save this. Now, we don't have any implementation for the steps that we have in the, steps that we, that are the scenario steps that we have written in the future file. Now go back here, right click on this, run as Cucumber Future. So the moment you run this Cucumber Future, go to the console and you see all the implementations are provided in the console itself. So it is saying, so you have implementation missing for the below snippets. So you have the implementation missing for all the snippets. So just copy this. So let me just copy only the first 3 steps. So let's not provide the implementation for the last 2 steps and then see what happens. So if I go back to my step definitions, login validations.page, and let me paste it here. And the meanwhile, let me do all the imports that are needed. I'm doing this import, and I'm doing this import, and I'm doing this. So if you observe, there is one difference here. Have you noticed any difference between the old way of implementing using tidy Zirkin and here? So this
It throws throwable class.
No, that's fine. It's directly calling the method. If you see here, it is directly instantiating that and it is calling it. So that's
So pre and post symbols are not mentioned. Like the at given there should be.
Okay, pre and post. Okay, so that's another thing. That's okay. So, but if you see here, you are seeing when and then, when and end, correct? You are seeing when and end, then and but. It is matching the scenario that what we have given. But if you see here, even if we give end over here, even if we give end, when and end, it is taking this as when only. The tag as when. But if we go here, it is end. Okay. So end is nothing but it's again a when statement, but it's an add-on to the additional step that we do have. So that is what you that's the difference. And you also know about this. We already discussed about this. Now if I run this,
So,
you like, yeah.
so we are getting all the annotation from our console only, right? After running that feature.
Mm. Right, correct.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thanks.
Now if I go here and run as, if I do run as Cucumber future, what happens is, so now open your console and go ahead and see what happens here. So now we have only 2 steps that are not implemented. Instead of 5, we see only 2 steps. And if you go to the top, you see for the first 3 steps, we already have step definition mentioned and it is clear. And for the last 2 steps, it is not mentioned. So this is what we have to, implement over here, and the implementation is also provided here. So this is a way, to get your steps implemented, to get your step definitions for all the scenario steps that you are writing. So hope you understand both the ways, right? So one way is to run the scenario file as cucumber.future, and the other way is to use the tidy Zirkin and get the implementations from this tidy Zirkin plugin. So either ways is okay. You understood this, right? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
So if I have Eclipse, so I don't need to go for tidy jerking, right?
Right. If you have Eclipse, you don't have any need to go to the tidy Zirkin. You can directly access or get the step definitions from here itself.
Yeah.
So in Eclipse, it is also when we're creating the class, it's also saying that step definition class, it is giving the annotations which needs to be used in this class. So when will we use, can we use that directly, the step definition class?
Yeah, by default, all the unimplemented steps will be displayed over here. Is that what you're asking?
No, sir. While creating the class under that package step definition, you created a normal Java class, right?
Yes.
So instead of it is an option like step definition class. So is there a difference? Like, because it is showing only the annotations that can be used in the class. Will it automatically create like this, or for us to write these methods inside and we can use those annotations that class is used?
Sorry, I haven't got your question. Can you please repeat once?
Like when you right click on it and said create a class, new class, Java class on step definitions package. Then I'm getting another option, step definition class. So what is the difference like between this general class and definition class?
So once you click on this
New class.
Okay.
Okay, but when I'm doing like new class, I'm getting options for Java class or step definition.
Yeah, you can go ahead with anything. That should not be a problem. So maybe always go with something like related to Cucumber so that you will not face any errors. So you can either go with this or that. It's up to you.
Okay, thank you.
So if you face any issues with the step definitions, let me know. We'll address it. Okay. So this is how you provide the step definitions for each and every step that is given in the scenario file. Okay. Now let's just keep some sysouts inside this and let's see the output.
Sir, we are not able to hear you.
Yeah, 1 second. Just 1 second. My system is not responding. So I'm just putting some print statements inside this, just for our understanding. User is on application login page. So here you can just implement your Selenium codes. So once you implement Selenium codes, you just need to add your Selenium jars and all the stuffs are common. Okay. So for now I'm just putting some print statements inside this. So inside this I say system sysout, and I say sysout user enters general username and password. User enters val general username and password, and also let me go here, sysout application home page is displayed sysout. Click on login button, and at the last sysout user not able to see change security tab. Okay, I'm saving this and I'm closing this. Now we have the implementation for everything. Now how to run the scenario, is something which we have to know now. So if you go to the feature file, we are done with implementing the feature file, and if you go to the step definitions, we also have the step definitions. Now how to run this feature file is something which you have to see. So if I run this feature file, the only thing that I see is whether the feature file steps have the mapping step definitions or not. That's all what I am seeing. I'm not seeing anything else. I cannot even run the test steps. So even if I go here, run as Cucumber feature, so just go ahead and see the console. You're not seeing any outputs that are printed. Oh, it's even working here. So it is even executing them and also giving the mapping of the test step definitions. Right. So this is a new observation for me. Basically, this is not how we execute this. To execute this functionality, we need to create something called as a test runner. From the test runner, we are going to execute all the feature files. So every time, this is to execute a single feature file if you want to. So if you have multiple feature files, you cannot directly go to each and every feature file and right click run as feature cucumber.feature. Instead, we can do it from a single place. Like we call that as test runner in this Cucumber. So test runner is something, configuring test runners is the next step for us. So these are the ways to generate the step definitions, and we also generated the step definitions. And the next step for us is, so next important step for us is we need to go to 5 and say, what we say here is implement test runner to execute feature files. Okay, So we need to create a future test runner now, and we need to specify what future files needs to be executed. Now creating a text runner is something what we have to do, and what is the framework structure for the test runner is something that we are gonna see now. Okay, so again same, inside src.test.java, inside src test / java, we create a package called as test runner package. Inside the package we create a file called as testrunner.java. So inside this testrunner.java we will specify something, so that this test runner is the core method, or the driver method, which picks the relevant feature files, and it will start executing those features. It can be one feature or multiple features. It picks accordingly according to the values that we provide in the testrunner.java. So this is the project structure for the test runner, right? So let me go back to my Eclipse and do that stuff. So we created features, and now we need to create another package, new package. So I name this as test runner package, and let me finish this. So inside this test runner package, I need to create a class, and the name has to be test runner. So just click on finish. Once we clicked on finish, so how to specify the feature files that needs to be executed, and the step definitions mapping and all the stuff we can see it here. So here there is something called as @cucumber options. So using this we can specify the other things that we are discussing, like what are the feature files that I want to execute. So inside the Cucumber files, if you say futures, and if you give the futures that you want to execute, and let's say the futures that I want to execute is inside my future files package, login functionality.future is something that I'm interested to execute. Okay, so I say src / test / java / and what is the package name? Future files is my package name. So if I give / login functionality.future, only this feature will be executed. So if I don't give any name, all the feature files inside this package will be picked for the execution by this test runner. So that is one important point. So we don't want single feature file to be executed. We want all the feature files inside this particular feature files package has to be picked for the execution. So this is one thing. So we have given futures, and we gave the future files path, and there is something called as the second option is glue, and we need to specify this glue is to specify where are the implementations for this feature files. Okay, so using this glue option we specify the step definitions path, in which package the step definitions for this feature file are there. We will specify that using this glue option. So for now we need to give this as step definitions, because that is the package inside which we have all the implementations. Definitions, step definitions. Okay, so this is what we have to give. So once both the parameters are given, we don't need any other things, right? We know what feature files to be executed, and we also know what is where are the step definitions. We specified the step definitions. Along with this, we also need to add another parameter called as @run with. @run with, is it not there? Control S. Let me just try to run this particular thing. Let's see. So right click, run as.
So for multiple feature files, are we creating multiple step definitions?
Yeah, we have to create it.
Okay. So feature A, feature B, feature C should be mapped to feature A of should be mapped to step definition A, and feature B has to be mapped to step definition B, right?
Yeah, in this it doesn't really need to map. So we just need to give, like if it can be your implementation can be any within any class inside this package. So it can be in any class inside this particular package. Your Cucumber will pick that. It doesn't matter whether it is in login validations.java or whether it is in a different class. It doesn't matter for Cucumber. It will try to read all the methods in all the classes inside this package, and it will fetch the appropriate step definition for that particular scenario step.
So in that case, I think we can have only one step definition as well, right? For
Yeah, that is
multiple
also
features, right?
fine. But when the project is growing and growing, it might be difficult for you. If you split that as module wise, it will be easy for you to even tweak the codes in future. If it is a single file, if you need to name, if you need to override the methods or something, there comes the problem.
So what would be the sequence of execution in that case?
So if you have multiple classes and if you have same methods in multiple classes, right? So it all depends on
Right.
Cucumber again. It's not in your control. What will be picked is something which will be in the control of. And to check that what will be picked, you just need to run Cucumber.future, and you need to just look at to which it is tagged.
So we can have multiple tags also, right? For example, for smoke regression and
Yes, we can have.
Okay.
That we're gonna discuss, and we can also look at what it is picking. So if you come here and if you click control and on this, you will be redirected to the step definition step. So right now it is not working in my machine. I need to upgrade my Eclipse. I was just noticing this. Maybe I just need to upgrade this. The only plugin that we need is Natural and Cucumber plugin. But in your missions, I hope you will be able to redirect to this particular step definition by just clicking on it. Or else, if that is not working, you just need to click run as cucumber.future. So once you see this, you can clearly see from which package and from which class your method is being picked is clearly shown over here. Or else, let me do one thing. Let me create a new class and let me move the other one, new class. So let me say login validations 2. Okay, I'm creating a new class. To this particular class, I'll move two other methods. I'll move these two methods into the new class, Control X. And into this class, I'm just moving these two methods, Control V, Control S. Now go to your Cucumber feature file, run as cucumber.future. So once you do this, let's go ahead and see what happens. So instead of login validation, it is picking login validation 2. So you haven't mentioned this anywhere, like I'm putting these methods in this specific class name, but Cucumber is automatically fetching the right methods. To answer your question, let's go back and put the same methods in both the classes. So in this class also I'm having these methods, and in this class also I'll paste the methods, and let's just do the workaround. So go back to the login feature, run as Java application cucumber.future. So if you have multiple implementations, you are getting an error, but you can also suppress this error. So duplicate step definition exception is there, even with some options in this, in the Cucumber options, you can suppress that error as well. Even if multiple duplicate step definitions are there, you can suppress that using a few options in the Cucumber options that I'll show you later. It will pick a random, the specified, we can suppress this, and we can force the Cucumber to pick one particular step definition out of the step definitions out there. and we can also have that. We can also do that from the Cucumber options, and I'll show you that in the later sessions. So for now, this is something. So, but we can also force that a Cucumber to pick a specific thing. So, did that answer your question? Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. So Control S. Now let me go back to my test runner. Right click on this, run as JUnit test. So once I run this, I'll just see only the output of the scenario. So user is on the application login page, user is on general username and password, click on login username, application home page is username. So this is how we configure what to say, feature files, step definitions, and the test runner. And this is how we execute this Cucumber feature files from the test runner. Hope from still here it is clear for you, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Now let's move forward and understand the next concept. So let's say I came to the feature file. Here I hard coded the username and password, right? I cannot hard code over here. Like I just passed as username and password, but it looks something like this. So 0206580744. The password can be September. So in this case, we are passing the values from this scenario. So if I run this feature file now, run as cucumber.future. If you go to the console, you see there is something which is missing. Earlier, we are not passing any strings from the feature file. We are just passing it as a normal plain text, right? Instead, we are passing a dynamic values. In future, if you are changing the values here, even if you change the value over here, so if you come back to your Eclipse, and if you want to change the value here, you can do that, and the same thing will work. So we are making the username and password as a dynamic ones instead of statics. So if I remove this, what has to be done? If I remove this, it's a like a static thing. The future step definitions changes like this as well. So instead of this username, it comes like 206580788, and password, it comes a different value. But if we want to pass them as strings, the older one will not work. So this is how we will pass the strings to the step definitions. And if you look at the step definition implementation for this, so the two strings that we are given in the future are passed into this, and these two strings will be stored into these two arguments. So we can read those two things inside this function. Okay, so let me just put this implementation inside that. What to say inside this class. So let me go back to this login validations 2. Inside this, I'm pasting it here. Control V. Now I have two strings. This string is the username, and this string is the password. Correct. Now I want to print these two values to the console. This is out.
So are we writing all the methods in this step definitions, or this will again take, I mean, are we creating another class and are we writing all the methods there? Like, how are we doing?
Yes,
I'm
we are
confused.
creating a class inside the step definition, and in that step definition, we are writing all the methods. I mean to say, you have some method to do a particular validation. Let's say this is the step, right? This is my business, I mean product owner document, which were written in step document. I mean, which is written in Jarkin language, and you need to tag your automation scripts to this. For that, what you're doing, you're creating a class and you're writing your Selenium script in a particular method, and in this test runner, you're tagging that. You're tagging this is the step definition and this is a feature files. By the way, in the step definitions, when you have a matching step definition, feature file is capable, the Cucumber is capable to fetch the relevant step definition, matching step definition for that particular scenario step. So to keep it short, we will create classes and we will create all the methods inside this, and we will map the methods that we have written to the specific scenario step using this syntax at the rate something like this, which we can even generate it from console by running it as cucumber.future. Is it clear?
So again, we are creating for different pages. We are creating different classes, right? Again, for the methods, like for me, I'm like confused a bit of organizing them for the different features, different pages, and different step definition, and with respect to the different methods.
Okay, so let's keep this elaborated.
Okay.
So let's say the first scenario is to validate the home page. Okay, this is scenario feature 1. Again, it's always up to me how do I organize the things. Let's say I have feature 2 to fetch the dashboard. So this is feature 2 feature file that I have written to validate dashboard functionality. Dashboard functionality, the feature 1 is login functionality. Let's say feature 1 creates login functionality. Okay, so for this login functionality, we will have multiple scenarios, correct? You will have multiple scenarios and you will have multiple step definitions. So you will have multiple scenarios. Scenario 1 for the positive case, scenario 2 for the negative case, and scenario 2 for the other cases. So for all these scenarios, let's say you have 50 lines of Zircon code, 50 lines of scenario steps.
Okay.
So in turn, you have to implement 50 step definitions or 50 methods you have to implement. 50 methods to be implemented, correct? Now, in the step definitions package, I create a class called as login functionality, login future validations.java. Inside this Java, I'll place all these 50 methods. Okay, I'll place all these 50 methods inside this login feature.java. For the dashboard again, I have multiple scenarios here. So I can have multiple scenarios. Let's say I have 20 lines of scenario steps. And again, you'll get 20 methods. And now I'll create a class name called as dashboard.
Okay, for this dashboard functionality, we are creating another class. In
Yes.
that, we have a 20 methods,
Yes.
which is dashboard.
Yes.
Dashboard.java. Okay.
So we'll place all these files. And you doesn't really need to specify where your step definition is there to the Cucumber. Cucumber is taking its responsibility to fetch the relevant ZAR file. And they are also providing us multiple Cucumber options to also change or modify it. So we will also come across this later. But right now you make a point, if you're not giving that option value, if you're giving multiple implementations for the same method, you're getting an error. Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm just trying to print the values of the username and password. So to this string, I'm just passing the username. And now I'm also printing the password. Control S. Now let me run the test runner file again. Run as say init test. So once you run this, go to the console and you see So this is my username and this is the password. So I'm able to successfully get the values out from the future file into the step definition. So the syntax is automatically given by the like for the cucumber.future itself by itself. Now let me change the value in the future file. Instead of this user, I want to test another user. 2065. Let's give the name test user. So I'm giving a test user now. And if I run the test run, this cucumber feature file, I can run as unit test and look at the console. You're able to pass the value dynamically into the step definition. Okay, so this is clear for us now. Now I have another scenario like this. So let's say this is my future file. Inside this future file, for the user to log in, it have around 10 parameters that you have to give. Along with the username, password, he need to provide his date of birth, he need to provide his like PAN card number, locality, email address. All these details has to be given by the user. So if it is if it is the only username and password, you can just separate them with and if you want to give multiple values, like 10 values we have to give for the registration, you cannot place like and something like this and something like this. We cannot do this way, right? If you have multiple values. So if you have multiple values to be passed for the registration page, so the way you need to pass the values to that multiple values is, so inside below this you need to give a pipeline symbol, and here you need to give the values, and we will also discuss how to get the values from here into the step definition. Test user and the password is sample password, and also you need to give the username test user@gmail.com, and you also need to give the PAN card number. Let's give it as FRDS 45632 capital
Are
T.
we writing the title, username, and password on top of this just to pass?
Oh, sorry, what you're saying?
Are we writing the username on top of this? So for the multiple.
No, we want to log into we are just logging in. For the logging in, we are just using username and password earlier. But for this application, username and password are not sufficient. We have to enter 10 more values to successfully log in into the application. Okay, so to provide 10 more values, we cannot go ahead and give it like this, right? Username, when user enters username as we are passing this value, test user, and password as something like this, and Gmail as it will be very complex and it will be very big, right? And PAN as. So instead of doing it this way, if it is 4, it is very big. If it is 12, it will be pretty much bigger. So in such kind of scenarios, we can pass the consolidated values like this in an indexed manner, one after the other in a sequential manner. We can pass it this way. So dummy description, something like this. So this is how we can write a random functionality. I mean, we can pass multiple values for a single step definition, and how to read this in the step definition is something that we have to see now. So is this clear why we are going with this? When we have multiple values that needs to be passed from the step definition, scenario step, we have to go for this. We need to separate the data with the pipelines, and we can pass this data from the scenario file to the test definition.
So in our method, if we have only the username and password, but we're providing so many values here, so it will take only 2 because our method has only 2. The first 2 have to give it in the same order.
Yes, it will take it in the same order.
Okay. So here we need not mention it as username, pipeline, test user, and then password, nothing like that. It will take it directly from the each pipeline. Like set.
Correct.
The first block will be the username, second block password.
Yes, correct. Second block will be password. That we have to handle in your scripts carefully.
Okay.
Yeah. So Samhita, what you are saying, we will cover that in later steps. For now, we will just know how to pass the values directly into the into the step definitions, and also answer you how to read these values in the step definitions. Okay, what you told is correct. We are just passing it in an indexed manner. So the first block will be the username, second block will be the password, third block will be the Gmail, fourth block will be the PAN card, and the fifth block will be the description. So that is correct. And now we need to use them in an indexed manner in the step definition as well. So let me just go ahead, run as Cucumber Future, and let's see if we missed any implementation. So look at this, we missed this implementation, right? So I'm copying this, Control C, and I'm going to my step definition, and I'm pasting it here now. So I'm pasting it here. So you look at this, by default, all the data is coming as a data table. Okay, and it is also asking us write code here that turns the phrase above into concrete actions. For automatic transformation, change data table to one of the following maps, like enumerator or list inside a list, map or list, or whatever it is. So we have the feasibility to convert this data table into one of the collection parameters. So for that, I'll just remove this code, all this code, and I also remove this exception. Now I want to get all the values that we have given in the feature files, all the multiple values that we have given in the feature files. So for that, what I have to do is I just need to take this, Control C, Control V, dot. There are multiple methods here. So we can convert that into as lists, as list inside a list, or as map. So let me convert this into as list. So now all the data that we are passing into this data table is converted as a list now. So let me assign this to a local variable. So now for each string, each value in pipeline hyphen as a list, Control C, Control V, sys out each value in pipeline, Control V. So this should print all the values that we are passing it from the console. Control C, just differentiating them here. At the end, I'll also put Control V. Now save this and now run your feature file using test runner. So right click, run as unit test. Open your console. So now look at this, all the values you're getting it from the feature file. So these are all the values that we have given over there, right? Is this clear?
So we need to implement all the methods which are unimplemented. Like when we pass the file in the pipeline, all the values, and we don't have this method there, right, initially. So it's suggested for that missing implementation of this.
Correct. It suggested the implementation,
so we
and
need
copy
to
that implementation and paste it here and use it.
Okay. So instead of this, if you want only the username and password in the above method, using username and password, can we get it there?
This will not work anymore. You know, like this step definition that we have implemented don't have a matching scenario step in the package explorer. I mean, in the feature file. So we don't have anything. So when I give like this, and There should be something like this, then only it will take this thing. Otherwise it will not take this username and password values, because there is no matching scenario step for that particular step definition in this feature file. So that's why that will not be executed ever.
Okay.
Okay. So this is one way of getting the data from the scenario feature file. Okay, right. Now let's say I want to run this particular login functionality for multiple users. So not only a single user, I want to run this for multiple iterations for multiple usernames and passwords. Okay. So the thing is, so I want this scenario. Now let me remove this. Enter username, general user, username as username and password as password. Okay. Now I want to run this scenario for multiple usernames and passwords. Okay. So for that, what I have to do is, it's simple. So first of all, we have something called as scenario outline. Instead of scenario, we need to change this to scenario outline. There is something called as scenario outline. You need to change this to scenario outline. Once you change this to scenario outline, there is something called as examples, which you need to give at the end. And here you need to give these names. Let's say I say username. I'll give this username separated by the pipelines again. So this control V pipeline, and the second parameter is control C, control V. Yes. Now my first user will be user1 and password 1. User2, password 2. Control C, user3, password 3. Now this test case needs to be iterated for all the users, right? So we are hard coding this. We are passing multiple values for this and this. So I just need to add these symbols in front of them. That's the only thing. Once I add this, all these values will be picked by this username. And for the password, I just need to add open and closing parentheses. Once this is done, just let me save this. Once I save this, let me close this and let me run this scenario now. So my intention is I need to iterate this flow for multiple parameters, multiple times for multiple iterations with multiple values. So let me go back to the test runner, right click, run as JUnit test.
So is it because of the scenario outline 2 semicolons, or there is a single semicolon?
The reason is we haven't implemented this, correct? So we haven't implemented this step basically, correct? So to implement this step, I just need to copy this, paste it in, let me paste it here, Control A, Control V, and get the Java step. So this is the implementation. Copy this implementation and paste it in the step definition. Control V. So now try to look at this carefully. So it ran for all the users. So user one and password is one is entered and clicked on login button. Application homepage is displayed. User not able to see the security button. Now come back to the, it also executed for the second user and these are the second user steps. It also executed for the third user and these are third user steps. So this is how we can iterate the same scenario for multiple test combinations, multiple test data combinations. So this is how we will use, we will run the same scenario for multiple test combinations. Is this clear?
Got it, sir. Yeah, and this is what I was asking, like for individual username and password, how can we, send the different? Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So for different roles, basically different, say admin or person A, person B, like for different roles, again we need to create different scenario, right? Scenario.
Correct.
And again different username password. Got it. Got it.
So you doesn't really need to, create a separate scenario altogether. You can add another parameter here, say a user role. And if that is specific user role, you can change your logic in your scripts. I can add another thing and I can say admin, general user, something like that. So based on the user role, you can put some conditional statements inside your method and you can do that stuff.
How will it print that but condition? How will it check?
Which one? This but condition?
If it is, yes, because if it is for admin, it should see the security tab, right? Change security tab. So how can we put that if it is an admin or how does it?
Correct. We need to create a different scenarios only in that case. So if we need to check a different scenario, a different step altogether, then we cannot go ahead with this. So if it is a tab, like I can remove this, right? I can just remove this, and inside in this then it is also not possible because it is somewhere over here.
As username for different inputs, are we sending user one here?
Which one? User one? I'm not getting that. So you're passing username.
Here,
Yes.
for all the it will run for all the conditions, right? User one, user two, user three.
Right. It will run for all the conditions.
So this logic needs to be written in the method, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Can you go back to that feature file on?
Yeah, I'm just going back.
Yeah, in the when condition, when you gave that username as username, that is like the table column names, right? The password and then you're passing the values in the example.
Yeah.
Okay. Like how we do in that data driven for the Selenium is a similar way.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. For the last one, does it require the third column, like user role is not specified for user 3?
Now, if I come here, so if I come here, can I say if statement over here? And can I say if it is admin user? If it is admin, I have to check something. If it is not an admin, I have to check something. Can I put that way? Shell
Yes.
dot
Yeah, this is what I was asking.
equals ignore case. And let's say I
Admin.
say admin. Here I'll check whether the tab is there or not. So instead of creating multiple scenarios, we can just fit that in a single scenario and do it this way.
But can we use that condition, can it come here, or we need to do the fish out, or like we will be checking that method again?
Yeah, we have to put it here. Here, when it is admin, you has to find the XPath of that change security button, and you need to find whether it is displayed or not. If it is displayed, it is a true case. If it is not displayed, it's a false case.
Or can we have another method like application security, change security tab is displayed like public void inside this?
Yeah, it's all up to you. How you would implement here is something, it's up to you. So you can create a reusable function and you can directly call it here, or you can provide the implementation here itself. So you can say, I mean, web element, you use a change login or something. You already find the element if it is displayed. So it will be a true case. If it is a false, it's a negative case. So specifically, you can put output your console or write the report to your specific report. So the logic is up to you, but you just concentrate on how we are implementing the scenario. That's all which is important here. Logic can be anything. Every one of us can implement it in different ways. So one can write a reusable function and call it here, or we can directly provide the implementation here. We don't think you are using it at multiple places. Okay. So that is one thing. Now you understood all the things, right? So you're creating multiple features. You ran with multiple features. You ran with multiple inputs. You know how to generate the step definitions for the scenarios. And you also tried creating the scenarios, different scenarios. I mean, you can add multiple scenarios over here. It's up to you. Now, let's move forward and understand few other options in test runner. So in test runner, right now, we are just giving only two things. One is futures and the other one is glue, correct? And we do have multiple other things that we can do via Cucumber options. Okay. So one such thing is we can generate the reports. So before going to that, let me also tell you this thing. So let's say I have all my scenarios, and to all my scenarios, the prerequisite is to launch the application. Okay. So the prerequisite is to launch the application. Before that, let me also create another scenario here. So if it is two scenarios, it would be better. Scenario, validate login functionality with invalid credentials. Okay, so let me use the same things over here. Given Control C, Control V, and let me get that older function. Is that given when user enters username and password? Control C, when user enters username and password, and click on login button, and click on login button, and later you need to put the then statement, then application home page has to be displayed. Control C, Control A. This is just a dummy second scenario. then control V. Now for each and every scenario, I have a prerequisite. I mean to say I need to launch a website for each and every test case. Okay. So for that, what we have to do is like there is a keyword called as background. So using this keyword, we can implement few things. Given user on application, user given user launched specific URL in the background. Okay, so this is something which is the background. So when I say background, so this background is something which will be executed before all the scenarios in this particular feature. So if I have another feature, this background will not be applicable for that scenario, for the scenarios in the other feature file. Only this background is applicable for only the feature files which are present inside this feature file. Okay, so for every scenario inside this feature file, this background will be executed. For any other feature which is there in other feature files, this background will not be applicable. So when we are executing all the scenarios inside this particular feature file, this background will be for sure executed for every scenario. So let's quickly run as Cucumber feature. So go to the console and get the implementation of this. Application homepage has to be displayed. I just need to change add D over there, but I need to add this implementation. So here I just need to add displayed. That's why it is showing this. I'm going into the step definitions and I'm pasting it here. Control V. So given I'm importing this and I'm removing this and I say system sysout control space, and here I say background function executed successfully. So the expectation is for all the futures, for all the scenarios inside the feature file, this background has to be executed. Now let's quickly run this test runner and see what will be the output. Let's go to the test runner, right click, run as JUnit test. When I do this, go back to the console, and this is my scenario. Before my scenario outline, this is executed, and this is my second scenario. Before this scenario also, my execution is my background is executed, right? So that's pretty much about the background keyword. Right. Now the next step is we can add the tags to the scenarios as well. So this is my scenario handling. I'll just add a tag called as reg test, regression testing, and for this scenario I add a keyword called as smoke testing. Just hold on for a second. I'll just come back. Just a minute, I'll come back. Okay. So now we added some tags to both the scenarios. One is regular reg test, the other one is smoke test. Now I want to execute only the smoke test. So to do that, I just need to go to the test runner and I need to say comma tags is equal to at the rate. Inside this, I need to provide the name, exact name of the tag that we have given over here. Let me say smoke test. Copy this, provide it here in the tags. I'm providing it here and I'm saving this. Once I run this test runner again, run as JUnit test. So now go ahead and look at this. Only smoke test is executed. Now I have a scenario like this. So this background is applicable for everything, right? So if I go to the scenario login functionality, we have something called as background. This background is something which will be executed for all the tests in common. But I have a scenario like this. I want to execute some prerequisite, a different prerequisite for smoke test and a different prerequisite for reg test. So how can I achieve it? So if this is something which I have to execute, I mean the prerequisite for reg test and smoke test is different. So in that case, background will not work. Right? Background is common for all the tags or all the scenarios which are there in the feature file. But I want to execute a different prerequisite for reg test and different prerequisite for smoke test. So that can be achieved this way. So I'm just removing this background for now, and let's see how to put multiple different prerequisites for different scenarios. So I'll show you that now. We call them as hooks in Cucumber. Using hooks, we can achieve that. So the next step is, so yeah, any questions?
So for second scenario, which you have mentioned, the user and the examples may not be again repeated, right? So will that pick the first scenario's examples of username and password?
Can you please repeat it again?
Yeah, if you go to that feature, can you please go to Gherkin, that feature file page?
Okay.
Here, you have written examples for first scenario. That is, user is on application login page. Do we need to write the same examples to smoke test suite also, like this test case also, or will that pick the same?
No. It's just an example, and this examples is separate for this scenario outline. This is applicable for only this scenario outline. This is not applicable for this scenario. If you want to pass some data for the second scenario as well, you need to pass them as an examples. You need to pass separate examples here. So each and every scenario examples are unique for that scenario itself.
Okay, got it.
So now that is my requirement. For that, I have to do. There is something called as hooks in Cucumber. So for using the hooks, again in the step definitions, I need to create a class called as hooks. Let's name this as hooks. Inside this hooks, I just created a class, and inside this, I create a method called as public void before reg test is my method. Okay. So this method should be executed before any regression testing scenario. So I am also creating another method called as public void before smoke test. Before smoke test is something that we have to execute before the smoke test scenarios. So the only thing that we need to do here, how do we map, is something what we have to know. I'm just putting some console statements. So executing before regression testing. Executing before regression testing, and here also sysout executing before smoke testing. Okay, I'm saving this. So the only thing that we need to do is we have something called as @before tag. So @before tag from the Cucumber. So to this before, I just need to pass the tag name. What is the tag name for the regular regression testing? So this is the tag name. Copy this and paste it here in the hooks. So Control V. In the similar manner, @before, if you pass the tag name here as the smoke test, that will be executed before the smoke test. Now Control C and go here and execute smoke test. Control S. Now go back to the future file and we go back to the test runner. In the test runner, we are just running the smoke test. Now run as JUnit test. Now run this as JUnit test. And let's go ahead and see the console. In the console, if you see executing before smoke test, annotation is called after home page. This is the scenario. So for specific for regression testing, only the regression testing before prerequisite is called. Now let's go back to the test runner. Instead of smoke, let's try giving the reg test. Now I want to run this reg test instead of smoke. So go back to the test runner. Instead of @smoke test, give it as @reg test and save this. Now if I run this, right click, run as JUnit test, go back to the console, look at this, executing before regression testing. So this is how we control the before things, the prerequisites for different scenarios with different tags. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. So I have one question. So, for example, I want to run all the test cases which has a login keyword. So, how do we filter that and run? Say, for example, this is just in case if we have a many test cases, test scenarios. In that, I would like to run only a test case which has a login functionality. In that case, how can we differentiate and run only those?
So for that, we don't have anything that we have like in TestNG. We need to tag them with only tag names only. There is only one option to filter out the test cases here, and that is with the tag names.
Do we need to create another class or or different test case? How is that so?
So you want to filter out you want to execute the test cases based on the names of the scenarios is what you're asking, right? So if my
Right,
scenario
exactly.
outline
For
has something like
example,
I need to pick that
only
for the execution is what you're asking.
right, exactly. But the one which has only home page related scenarios, I want to
So
do
there
this.
is nothing like that. You need to tag them, tag the every scenario using that particular parameter. Let's say if you want to execute only with the login, you need to specify a particular tag for all the test cases, and you can control them only using the tags, as per my knowledge.
You mean to say, can we have a multiple tags on this? And if it is a multiple,
Yes,
how can
yes,
we call them?
we can have multiple tags.
Oh, okay. How can we call in that case like multiple tags?
So if you want to execute multiple tags, you just need to put a comma over here instead of reg test, comma @. If you want to add smoke test as well, copy this, Control C and paste it here. So once you add both the things over here, save this, and if you run this, all the tests will be executed. Run as JUnit test. So go to the console. So
So it's like each time do we need to keep on adding and deleting? Is there which is the best method like to do this? Since we, as for example, we will have a couple of test cases. Each time it's not really possible to keep on adding this if the tests are running overnight. So how do we maintain this?
okay, so you're asking me how to how to pick the exact, let's say if you want to run only the smoke test,
how to pick them, and if you want to run only reg tests, how to run them is what you're asking, right?
Right.
So let's say if you have to run only the regression tests, you need to map all the scenarios with the @regression test, and you need to run that particular test runner. If you want to run both reg test and smoke test, you need to specify both the tags here in the tags option, and you will be able to run both the test scenarios. So that is how you need to maintain the test runner. You got it, right? So if you want to run only regression test cases overnight, you will have this tag regression test added for all the tags, right?
So this is the only place where we can update and modify, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So like in Selenium, do we have any, like in XML we'll add all the test cases, right, which test needs to run? Like that, do we have any separate file where we can
like what to say, in TestNG as well, how do we do it? We will add specific classes, we'll exclude, include, we will prioritize the test cases, and we can add regular expressions for the tag names. So everything we have to do in the XML only, and then we can have multiple XMLs, and you can run each and every XML which is required. So that is how we can achieve the things in like in TestNG, right?
in one testng.xml we'll give the class names, right? What all we want to add,
Yes.
write in that XML.
Correct.
In the same way, this is any file like that instead of this class file, because this is a class file, right?
So here you
If
doesn't
you want,
really even need to mention the class file as well. By default, it will fetch all the class names, and it will fetch for the relevant step definition for the futures, for the scenario step. There you need to at least give the class names. If you don't give the class names, it will not pick them. Correct?
yes, but here someone has to like modify this this Java file, right?
Right. And I think often modifying tags, like deleting.
No.
It's
You don't
less,
really often modify. Just take this lecture as a demo part. In the real world, if you're developing a scenario, you will know. Let's say I have 100 test cases. In the 100 test cases, I know what are smoke test cases and what are regression test cases. So when I am developing a smoke test case, I'll tag them with a smoke test. If I'm developing a regression test, I'll tag them with a reg test. So in tomorrow, if I want to just run all the regression test cases, which are 96 test cases, the only thing that I have to do is I need to go to the test runner, and I just need to give @test, and I just need to kickstart my aggression, so that all the 96 test cases will be executed at one go. If it is @smoke, if I want to run the smoke test, I just need to go ahead and I just need to give smoke test, and I just need to run those 4 test cases. Even if you consider the TestNG, what you will do, if you want to execute only particular tags, you need to give only that particular tag. You need to anyway modify the test runner, right? Or else you can you can do another way. You can create
is there
multiple
any
XMLs, and you can traverse through them. Correct?
Yes, yes.
So at least you need to create
without
a single
modifying,
at least yeah. So in that case,
without
you can also do
modifying
that. You can also add
Okay.
multiple classes here, multiple test runner classes here, and you can create a separate test runner class for regression testing, smoke testing, and whatever combinations that you want, and you can trigger that that particular Java file at least.
So we can create one test runner for the regression testing and another for the smoke
you can do
testing,
that.
and
Yes.
can create a third test runner which has both regression and smoke. So whichever we want to run, we can run it.
Yes, you can do that. So I can say test runner smoke, and inside that I can add all this code again. Instead of smoke test, instead of rect and smoke, I'll just add only the smoke
Only
test.
smoke.
So, and I can just run this, Control S,
Okay, good.
run as the unit test.
Yeah, this I think would be better rather than editing the same file if you want to add smoke and regression.
So basically, they would. Okay, the question is like they'll ask us not to touch anything, not to modify from the external. The best way to drive this test, like in
Right.
that case, I think. Yeah.
So even you can do this way. So if you don't want to even come here and do things in a main class, you don't have any main class here, but if you want to do it from outside, you can even trigger this Java file, right? Java hyphen jar, and you just give the Java file that you want to execute. So there also you can specify what kind of text you want to run, but this is simplified. You can just run this particular specific Java file from here.
So this is nothing but the parallel execution, right? So it will run in multi-thread parallel execution.
What is parallel? Like you are saying, test run a smoke is parallel thing.
Since we are okay, I mean, I'm just telling in that case, can we execute all these things in a parallel because we have a different test runner, right? So will it work on parallel or as
Like
regression?
multi-threading kind of.
Like parallel count is equal to something in test ng. You're asking that option here.
No, I'm just telling if we are running the smoke, we can trigger regressions with that also because since we have a different test runner, we can trigger smoke and regression altogether in parallel. Can this be achieved here?
No. Why it is not? Why we will not be able to achieve is once we run some process, the Eclipse is occupied. We cannot trigger any other suite.
But Cucumber is the feature which enables us to execute parallel, right? So that's the reason they're opting for behavior-driven development, right?
No, behavior-driven development is just to keep the teams in sync. That's the main agenda. There is no technical goals using BDD Cucumber. So it is just to keep the teams in sync. We are using the same documentation and we are using the same implementation, right? So there is no technical things that we can achieve with Cucumber. Have you ever seen that? The advantage of Cucumber is to perform parallel execution.
Yes, JVM allows parallel execution across. Oh, okay.
Yes, that it allows parallel execution we can achieve using threads. That's a different story. But Cucumber achieves parallel execution is its advantage is something that we are talking about now, right?
No, my doubt is for the threads, like multiple threads. Can we do that here?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that. Triggering multiple
I
things
think the
in Java.
SMG enabled for the parallel execution. I think there is some we need to enable in TestNG, which enables
In
to run
TestNG we have
parallel.
parallel count, right? There we can achieve it. But that is not actually reliable. We need to implement the threads.
Even from Cucumber 4.0, multiple like parallel execution across multiple threads. Allows Cucumber JVM allows.
Run with Cucumber class parallel notation in the parallel package. We are adding Surefire plugin to this Surefire plugin. Rules.
I'm not sure about that gesture and not about, so I was checking with you. I'm not sure.
So we can also integrate Cucumber with TestNG. With JUnit, I don't think we will be able to. We can use Cucumber TestNG integration. Is what is saying.
With JUnit. This is with JUnit, right?
Yeah, this is JUnit. With JUnit, I just need to check this. So scenarios at the road for at the data provider, we have gone through this, and then he added Maven Surefire plugin. Inside the Maven Surefire plugin to execute using Maven failsafe plugins at the form as described. Parallel and use unlimited threads. Using parallel and unlimited threads. So we came back to distance again. Execution scenarios. We have given step after Cucumber run away.
But
Class.
there is one thing down, like for multiple runners, which we are discussing now, to use parallel classes and methods
Where is that?
given. I can under this, if you can scroll down a little bit more, it says like instead of parallel methods, you can give parallel classes and methods because we are using this above testing.
This is testng again. Data provider is testng part. I'm just looking for
No, not this one, above this. Here. This one. Above testng, see in the configuration in case of multiple runners.
One can also set the parallel option to class and
To
methods.
class, because we have different test runner classes, right?
Yeah. Maybe we just need to do some analysis. Maybe I'll just try to implement this and I'll project you in the next session. I haven't tried this yet. So let's
It's
go.
similar to the testmd.xml, right? Then it will become like that. If you include multiple classes, like here, if you give parallel classes.
Let's do. Let me try this. Maybe you can also give a try. Let me understand this and I'll come back to the next session.
Sure.
So you want parallel execution? Okay, I'll just give a try with that. So this is how we will do the taggings in Cucumber. And the next important step is there is also an option called as plugins, where we just want to see the reports of the plugins that we are executing. So for that, you just need to add something called as plugin here, and inside this plugin, you just need to give this is the format. Pretty. Actually, I used to go through one important Cucumber options document. I'm not finding that. That's a good source for studying Cucumber options. Yeah, tools queue, I guess. So we have many
Cucumber is
Cucumber
like
options.
I think Cucumber is like very confusing because of the multiple feature files and step definition.
Yeah. No, parallel execution. I mean, this is comfortable and it has good output reporting as well. And we can even integrate with we can get JUnit reports, XML reports, JSON reports all at one go.
Right to JUnit, I think exchange report is better, I guess.
Yeah, testng is also the earlier reports were very bad, but now they modified it. Now they are also good. So before that, let me show you the options. But this is the syntax for getting the reports. So plugin is equal to pretty, comma, and also close the proper brace. And if you want to the report in HTML format, you just need to give this HTML colon, and I want to save it into the target folder. Okay, target. This is the output folder for the Maven structure, and the name of this is Cucumber HTML.html. So this is my output. Okay. Now let me save this. Plugin is equal to Control S. Let's see if this is folded or not. So these are all the Cucumber options, and this is a good source. So glue, tags, monochrome format displays the console output in a much readable way. Format, what are the report formats? Dry run, futures, glue, tags, strict. So go through all of them. Many were deprecated now. So monochrome with examples is given over here. So just go through all of them. So format is equal to format options is used. Pretty prints the Jerkin source with additional colors and stack traces for errors. So pretty is to print the colors. If you want to print the HTML reports, HTML in the folder name that you want to print. If you want to get the JSON, you need to give JSON hyphen folder name / just if you want XML report, this is the format. So let's go here, and in the target folder, I want cucumber html.html report. So if I run this, run as JUnit test. So now go to the folder structure, just try to refresh this folder, refresh this, and if you go to the target, you'll see something called as cucumber HTML report. Right click, open with system editor. So once you do this, you'll see the reports of the test engines. So this is the single feature that we have executed. If you go back and if you remove these tags here, and you just try to add the other reports as well. Now I also want JSON report. So the syntax is JSON colon, and I want to save this in target folder /cucumber dot JSON. Okay, this is one syntax, and I also want XML report. So JUnit hyphen target / cucumber dot XML. So these are all the reports that I want. So let me just quickly run this, run as JUnit test. So if I run this, all the tests got passed. Let me go back here, refresh my project. If I see, I got all the reports, JSON, I got the JSON report, I got XML report, and I also got HTML report. Now open this with system editor. Now open with system editor. So if I do this, now just look at the test cases that are executed. This is my first scenario, and this is the this is my whole first scenario, and this is my second scenario, and this is all the data that I have passed as in the examples. So this is all about looking at the cucumber reports or generating the cucumber reports. Okay.
And you want to show that hooks file, hooks.java.
Yeah. So that is pretty much. You can also go through these options. This is a good source for cucumber options. So we covered almost everything. So we covered formatting, and we covered glue, we covered futures, and monochrome. This is a brief discussion. Displays the console output in a much readable manner. By default, this is getting true now. Tags, we also discussed about tags, true runs. Dry run is something which they used to use earlier, because dry run will check whether step definition is implemented or not. But right now we have that cucumber.future itself is saying that. So we doesn't really need to use the dry run now, and it don't have any use now. So monochrome displays the console. We also see what all report formats to use. Format strict will fail in the undefined opening steps. So if there is any undefined step which is already there, cucumber may not throw an error. If strict is set to true, it will for sure throw out an error. So these are all the options. Just go through them once. So we discussed most of them. Let me also paste it here in the test runner itself. Hope you got the basic knowledge of cucumber, I guess. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can dig deep and look at the advanced concepts. Yeah, that's all for today, and maybe from tomorrow we will start the JMeter as well. And in the first few minutes we will discuss about parallel executing the scenarios in Cucumber. I'll just try to figure it out and I'll try to explain in the next session.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.